Dear God, please let this be the last time I shoot this. But yeah, we're at 33. We're with De La Soul. Let's just move on from there. Oh wow. The ordinary old head would say this isn't a good entry, but dude, sorry, I had to babysit a baby. But finally, Rich Chief Keef. There's still nothing that feels like Love Sosa, the breakout single from a then 17-year-old Chief Keef. That's really what makes this album special. Chief Keef was only 17, when he released the record. This was his debut album. The Chicago rapper's melodic, hard-nosed anthem shook the foundation of hip-hop, created a whole new lane. Dude, I gotta stop hiccuping. The kids were taking control in a way that the genre had never seen. And why not? Keef's sound was at the heart of Chicago's enduring drill movement, which I wouldn't call his music drill necessarily, but it definitely had an impact, on a lot of people in my generation. Populated by young MCs whose lives are tinged with as much violence as the prior generation's old heads. So I don't know why the old head hate. There's a menacing atmosphere throughout the album, but not enough to eclipse the feeling of triumph. Keef's ethos booms loudly and full of feeling. Proof that the kids are alright, man. They really are. Wow. Nicki Minaj, Pink Friday coming here at 31. Not terrible. After slaughtering on a series of mixtapes and high-profile cameos such as Kanye West Monster, probably one of her best verses ever, Nicki Minaj made her debut LP a regal announcement of her new status as hip-hop queen. The guest list ranged from Rihanna to Kanye to Drake, but no one got in the way of Nicki herself, showing off her razor-sharp R&B crossover instincts, the vulnerable Save Me, brash rhymes, and hydra-headed flows. The result proved you could own the charts without dialing back your confrontational individuality, and it set the table for a generation of artists from Cardi B to Megan Thee Stallion to Doja Cat. Yeah, this album was a foundation for a lot of female hip-hop artists today. I can definitely agree with that. I can respect that. We gotta get through this, man. I've been harping on this too long. Beastie Boys, Paul's Boutique. This is probably better than License to Ill. It's not an album I've heard before, but I've definitely heard of, and obviously the Beastie Boys deserve to be on this list. Frat boy fan base, they had to derail that whole thing. Let's just move on. Tupac, All Eyes on Me. You knew this album was bound to be on here. This is a fantastic record. Everything about Tupac Shakur. Mortality, Black Humanity, Rivals Real and Imagined Media Notoriety, Suge Knight, Ripples, Shudders, and Blusters inside of the album's 27 precisely defiant songs. The Just Free from Prison MC enlists a cast of superb, fully invested voices: Snoop Dogg, Nate Dogg, Method Man, E40, etc., and studio hands like DJ Quick and Dr. Dre to match his gusher of exacting energy. It's all personal, political, life, death, and California Love makes it rain blood money. It's a damn masterpiece, honestly. It's one of the best double albums in hip hop history. Tupac definitely perfected this one. I have this album on vinyl. It's fantastic. I had to own it. It's a complete masterpiece. I love every second of it. It's got some great songs that will never die out and never become outdated. Really. Mobb Deep, this is a big time record for Mobb Deep, the infamous. I haven't heard this album before, but this is a really respectable spot on the list for Mobb Deep. Let's just move on from there. Okay, we got Aquemini from Outkast. Here we go. Another great duo of rappers. On the title track. The title track's really good. Andre 3K establishes him and Big Boi as one of hip hop's all-time great duos, two halves of the same jiggy coin. This album proved the South in general and Atlanta in particular were hip hop and America's pop's next frontier. Funky, filmic, and forward-looking, the album liberated their artistic impulses by shifting their evocative storytelling to left-of-center compositions like The Driving Rosa Parks. That's a good song. And Skewed on the Barbie, where Raekwon spits allegiance with his fellow Avant rappers. There was no way to know they would hit greater heights with Stankonia, so that's probably going to be higher on the list, but this album still sounds like the future. very inspirational stuff, on this album. Oh yeah, of course, Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt, very reasonable to have this album without a doubt. There was a cultivated inevitability around this album. Jay-Z's rep as a freestyle MC with a hot demo Kingpin image and discreetly funded label that he co-founded, Rockefeller. Industry Connects, Big Daddy Kane co-signed this. Great beat, Biggie, Mary J. Blige features. Plus a single 8-0 with Foxy Brown, already rocking New York clubs and radios, but this crisply refined record elevated Jay to an elite artistic, if not yet commercial level. He had the ruthlessly lucid crime lore, subtle shifts in dialogue and point of view, you conceited bastard wordplay, and haughty C-suite vision. The result, hooky, poignant champagne soul from a sage with well-earned scars. This isn't my favorite Jay-Z album. I think it's his debut, though, and it deserves to be renowned as one of his best. It's got some very legendary songs on here. I'm not mad that they put this here whatsoever. Getting into the top 25, we started off really well, but I'm actually surprised that the Marshall Mathers LP isn't higher on this list. I'm not mad at this, but yeah, I think this album is better than 25. Post the Slim Shady LP, National Eminem began to boil, hating on him, talking shit on him, reading the room, the devilish blue-eyed MC cranked the heat, and the combustible debate ignited. Was he a hateful scourge or an artistic prankster? That debate became his most fruitful inspiration on this record, making songs about it. Here he crafts a series of riveting one-act plays, a fan writes him disturbing letters on Stan, he threatens matricidal revenge, he has a psychotic break and screams at his wife on Kim. Buoyed by Dr. Dre's vivid production, he even enthralled Nobel Prize-winning poet Seamus Heaney on this record. Oh man, of course, at 24 we have Nas Illmatic, another legendary record from the 90s. This was the first on-record appearance of Nasty Nas. Live at the Barbecue, Halftime, from the Zebrahead soundtrack. He made appearances, but this first appearance were like Shakespearean fuck thou freestyles were situated into songs into the studio. But this album's tight 10-track set cast a timeless spell. 10 tracks. He was very strict with what tracks he put on here, and that's kind of the beauty of Nas's Illmatic here. Project poetry with documentary depth and vocals so subtly resonant you could see and smell the Queensbridge house's stairwells. Very vivid. Ultimately, Nas's musings were the intuitive philosophy of a 20-year-old soul, but the roll call of masterful producers. Pete Rock, DJ Premier, Primo, Q-Tip, artfully shaped the songs with such affecting jazz-funk brush strokes that they felt divinely inspired. It's a really good record. I like the Underground Kings. Do I have this record, Riding Dirty? No, I don't think so. I have their debut. Kind of their creative peak, I guess. The bluesy rhythms, very rich and slow. But shout out to Pimp C and Bun B. I don't think this is better than some of the albums we've been talking about recently, but I can still respect an album like this from UGK. Oh, hell yeah, man. 22, DMX, another good album from the 90s. It's dark and hell is hot. Rolling Stones appears to really embrace the hip-hop culture from this time. Emerging from a childhood scarred by poverty, abuse, and incarceration, and drug addiction, may I add, by his friend, by the way, Earl Darkman X Simmons came hungry and heartfelt on his 5 times platinum debut. In 1998, he was the undisputed hottest rapper in the game because of his technical ability on songs like single Get At Me Dog. But his debut LP revealed a multifaceted, emotionally rich tangle of contradictions and confessions. He was boastful on Rough Riders Anthem. He was prone to grisly murder scenarios on X is Comin'. But he takes a moment for an earnest, a acapella prayer to the heavens on Prayer. He raps his temptation on Damien and as God on The Combo, airing his demons and aspirations, painting both the horror of his existence and the power of his triumph. Last year, I listened to this album for the first time, and I was absolutely blown away. For an album that came out in 98, which is damn near 25 years from now, it's fantastic. I mean, he did a number on rap with an album like this. Shout out to DMX. Let's move on though. Interesting. We got a Lil Wayne mixtape, The Drought 3. That's really respectable, honestly. I mean, I haven't heard this album though, but I know mixtape Lil Wayne is built different. I'm not mad at this at all. Let's just move on. 20. We got Future DS2. I'm surprised, is all. I'm not mad at this selection. I mean, Future's a pretty good trap artist. DS2 is probably his best album besides Monster, maybe. I don't know what real Future fans are saying, but as just a general hip hop fan, not just a Future fan, I think DS2 is definitely one of the highlights of his career. You know, from the hedonistic chaos of Free Code to the diamond-encrusted self-promotion of Rich Sex, Future's double platinum opus is the dark Lothario at his best. For years after its release, there was not a college party or apartment pregame that went unsoundtracked by DS2. It's a very hype album, and ever since, wherever there are vices to be enjoyed among rap fans, there is some Future record to be played. Plus, by tracking on modern classics like Fuck Up Some Commas and Real Sisters, DS2 presents a rare instance in which a deluxe repackaging actually enhances the original album rather than bloating it. Yeah, that's a big problem in music nowadays. Most deluxes aren't that good. So, yeah. Shout out to Future. The deluxe was really good for this record. One of the better deluxe albums I've heard. Lil' Kim. I haven't heard this album, but I can respect Lil' Kim. She was a legend from the 90s. I really like their 90s. I'm not mad at that at all. Lil' Kim is pretty good here. You know, Biggie is on a lot of the tracks. Missy Elliott's a lot of the big ones of the day. Oh, nice. Great placement here at 18. We got Mad Villainy by Mad Villainy. Mad Villain. The one and only Mad Villain album has two eccentric hip-hop geniuses pushing each other to a peak of weirdo virtuosity. Rapper MF Doom and producer Madlib. Doom started in the underrated Long Island crew KMD, of course. Victor Von Villain, whichever, but he became a cult figure on his own, a mysterious supervillain in a metal mask, using a string of aliases and costumes. It would be looked at as kind of corny nowadays, but it's a really cool alias for him. He had perfect chemistry with Madlib, a West Coast maestro of warped funk samples. The album sessions were great, according to MF Doom. Mad Villainy was strictly for the underground, but it was so dazzling, so original, nobody could resist. It stands as one of hip-hop's boldest creative landmarks. Yeah, man, for sure. Oh yeah, this album's fantastic. I have this on CD, so that's great. Kanye West Yeezus over some of his college albums. It's very questionable, but again, not a bad album at all. Rolling Stone is a weird website, okay? They have a lot of weird stuff going on. I'm not too surprised that they put albums like this up here. With its thick timbres, faster tempos, dissonant keyboards, dynamic drums, and violent mix of hip-hop and electronic music, Kanye's sixth studio album remains Kanye West's most radical statement. Fair. Nothing in mainstream rap had the hammering percussion of Black Skinhead, the glitchy designs of On Sight, or the ballistic New Orleans bounce of Blood on the Leaves. Yeah, man. By turning up the distortion, contorting the samples, and rhyming with a petulant recklessness that was over the top even by Kanye standards, he found a new way to shock the world. He earned a croissant, I guess. What the hell does that even mean? Is that a saying I'm not understanding? I have Jesus back there on the wall. I love the album. It's just a weird place to put it. What's up, bro? Been a minute. Oh, what's up, Trilly God? Sorry, I had to look on the website. It's been a minute since I've looked at chat. Big 100 subs, yes sir, man. Keep on grinding. Man, that guy's a real one. We're just getting towards the end of it. What the hell do they have to say about this? I knew this album was actually on the list, but I forgot that we hadn't even went over this album yet. Cardi B is not trash, per se, but why is this album in the top 20? What are we trying to do here? If you're going to put a female artist on here this high, it's got to be Lauryn Hill. It cannot be someone like Cardi B, alright? Oh my god, what the hell? Built a reputation as Love and Hip Hop's most beloved No, that's bullshit. You're making bullshit up. I Like It is a good song in all fairness. Bodak Yellow is a pretty good song. Those two songs are good, okay? I'll give her flowers on that. Yeah, facts. Get Cardi B out of here. There's two decent songs on here, but holy shit. You're telling me this is top 20. Borderline top 15. That's wild. Oh, God. Okay. Okay. Eric B. and Rakim Paid in Full. I like it. I knew this album would probably pop up in some place. This is very iconic. One of the best albums in the 80s hip-hop. Rakim, for all of his lyrical complexity, never confused us. If anything, maybe he was confused when his game-changing debut. This was his game-changing debut. Sorry, about how palatable his doctorate in physics level rhymes sounded to the average hip-hop head back in 1987. The timeless title track brought regal God-body purity to lyrics that were otherwise about getting to the bag, and on Eric B. as president, Rakim dropped science that felt fun and easy as a PE course. Neither medicine nor candy, Paid in Full is a therapeutic sweet spot in the culture, for sure. They got a couple iconic songs. I haven't really listened to this album in full. It's been like, what? How long has it been since this album's been out? 25 years? Like a full 25 years? No, 35 years. Holy shit. Okay, this is really high for a Ghostface Killah album, but I'm not mad at it. Ghostface Killah is pretty good. When people mention him as an all-time great, this is the one yeah, it is what they're talking about. Or are we talking about this album? Because, yeah, I mean, it is probably his best record. His second solo full-length is Ghost at his purest quintessence. I mean, this is the rare occurrence of an artist improving throughout their careers. That doesn't happen as often as you guys would think. Like, you know. Oh my gosh, why is it bringing me to Office 360? Jeez, we still have like 13 more albums. I'm not going to talk about this too much. I appreciate him, but I don't really... Ooh, okay. Dr. Dre 2001. I was going to say, I wasn't sure when this album would come up. Another good album from the 90s, borderline 2000s, of course. You know, making his presence known on a song like Still Dre. Scott Storch's cascading piano lines glide beneath him. The multi-platinum success of this album barely concealed all the problems Dre overcame to make it. His prior two projects, the 1996 label compilation The Aftermath and the 1997 supergroup The Firm, were commercial disappointments, and they're very irrelevant to the day, probably for a good reason. Shout out to Trilly God for pulling up, though. He lost his brother to gun violence. He even had to change the name from the Chronic 2000 because his one-time business partner turned blood enemy, Suge Knight, stole it. These tabloid dramas lend fuel to hard-hitting tracks like What's the Difference, Forgot About Dre, and The Message. Just a great album here. Yet it all sounds like an unforgettable G-Funk extravaganza, a hallmark of Dre's ability to turn tumult to triumph. Yeah, shout out to Dr. Dre. Okay. This is a pretty solid album. It is a little high, but we got Clips with Lord Willin'. Okay. I can't believe Mouse and Pusha T are actually brothers. They've been working with the Neptunes production duo since 1992. This is 10 years in the making. The album cover is kind of sick. I mess with it. You know, making songs in Chad Hugo's basement despite his screaming parents. 10 years and one shelved album later, they emerged with this album, a visionary combination of Clips' hard-nosed rhymes about the drug trade and the Neptunes' futuristic bubble funk single Grindin', one of the most minimalist things to hit the radio since We Will Rock You. That song is great, and the rest of the album exploded prismatically with the rest of rhymes that blended raw chops, punchlines, and ice-cold veins. Comedy Central is a good track. Pusha T killed it. Fair enough. You know, you got to get a couple Drake bangers up here. We got Take Care at 11. It is possibly his best. A whole world of mythology exists in the 80 minutes of Drake's 2011 opus, this album. Kendrick Lamar even finds himself awestruck during his feature on the album's interlude Buried Alive, essentially realizing that the record is a classic in real time. Indeed, this album is the most well-rounded project of Drake's career. You're not wrong. It marks the beginning of a new era in rap. Inspired production from Drake's right-hand man, 40, shout out, engendered a dynamic shift in the sonics of hip-hop. Toronto-born Drizzy had already turned the genre's masculine facade on its head by freely crooning alongside his verses, and with this album, the pair achieved sonic cohesion. Drake spends this album digging into his psyche, and it set the stage for the vulnerable and self-reflective ethos we see in rap today. Very true. This album really like started the in your feelings phase of music. Really, Drake's the big guy for that. Why are we talking about this so long? Lauryn Hill, like I said, a female rapper has to be on here, and the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. There we go. I didn't listen to this album though, so I'm probably not gonna read this. We gotta save some time. But shout out to Lauryn Hill. Not an album I listen to, but I can definitely respect A Tribe Called Quest and The Low End Theory. That's probably their best record. Nice. Wu-Tang Clan, Enter the Wu-Tang here at 8. I gotta get through this video, guys. A hip-hop legend so fantastical, it could only be the truth. 9 guys from New York's outermost boroughs, steeped in 5% teachings and old kung fu movies, crammed into one smoky studio for a lyrical battle royale that would reshape rap for the next decade. RZA sample collages set a standard for hard-elbowed beats, and the Clan's verses showed a stunning range of craftsmanship. The multi-syllabic wisdom of U-Got, the brainy arrogance of Inspector Deck, the street-level insights of Raekwon, the crooked pop instincts of Method Man, the freeform wit of Old Dirty Bastard, the keyed-up yelp of Ghostface Killah. The sheer density of slang-encrusted myth-making on this album made an entire generation of MCs step up their lingo and laid the blueprint for outsized crews to come from Odd Future to Spillage Village and beyond. Yeah, I would say Odd Future was pretty... They were inspired by Wu-Tang. I wouldn't doubt that. Missy Elliott. Shout out to Missy Elliott, but we gotta save some time here. That's a weird album to have this high, but... Okay. I mean, this album made it top 10. Kanye West, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Solid. I like it. Following the fallout from his infamous interruption of Taylor Swift's VMA acceptance speech, Kanye West was fighting to win back the public's favor. That fueled him to do something he hadn't done before and maybe never will do again. Exactly what we wanted him to do. This album is an upgraded amalgamation of everything that made us love Kanye. Luxurious production, fluid features, and dexterous rapping over themes of grandeur, drugs, sex, and love. It combines the heartfelt vulnerability of the college dropout, the orchestral soundscapes of late registration, the upscaled arena raps of graduation, and touches of the auto-tune crooning of 808s and heartbreak. Kanye may think differently, but this album is a masterpiece. I don't know what Kanye thinks of this album, but holy shit, I need to get going. I talk way too much. We still have 5 more records to go through. Jesus. Of course, you can argue which one's better between To Pimp a Butterfly and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, but we knew To Pimp a Butterfly had to be on this list. With narrative development akin to a best-selling novel, Kendrick Lamar's third album whisked us from Compton to South Africa and back again with stirring meditations on everything from colorism to incarceration to wealth inequality along the way. Kendrick's imagination here is deep in depth as he dreams aloud of resilience, vengeance, and conversations with religious and rap deities. Both the sound and the words of this album graciously toe the line between diverse and disjunct, with producers like Terrace Martin and Soundwave elevating Kendrick's stories by bending jazz, soul, funk, and psychedelia into the shape of a hip-hop album. I mean, for the time, man, this album was very different than what most people were used to. Hopefully Trilly God tunes into my videos in the future. I really like that guy. Mess with him. But, yeah, man. Fantastic. Let's get it. Okay, Public Enemy. Shout out to Public Enemy. Haven't heard this album. I'm gonna move on. Fuck yeah, man. Jay-Z, The Blueprint at number 3. Jay-Z, man. He's one of my favorite rappers ever, man. Yeah, holy shit. Great placement here. After his landmark debut, Reasonable Doubt, Jay-Z spent much of the late 90s fighting to prove he was a chart contender and a worthy heir to his late friend Biggie. By 2001, he could sit back and relax, flowing effortlessly over the choicest crop of throwback soul beats he ever bought from an ascendant Just Blaze and a new guy from Chicago named Kanye West who made his name off this album. That's what is also like really big about it. This is also the album where he aired out his grievances against Nas and Prodigy, the Brass Doors sampling Takeover, which is one of his best songs ever, but he gets that out of the way early, leaving the rest of the album clear for extra clever boast. You Don't Know, Izzo, Olay Ovido, and one of the most emotionally direct writing of his career. Song Cry, Heart of the City, Never Change. Quick and witty, confident and smooth, he never sounded better. What's second? Okay, I like this album. But number 2 of all time? Okay. It's your opinion. Stankonia, Outkast. I'm not mad at it. By the turn of the millennium, Outkast were the standard bearers for Southern hip hop, a regional form unfairly derided as less sophisticated than rap's coastal variants. This album finds harmony in the region's myriad forms: booty bass in HBCU marching bands, protean, crunk and trap, psychedelic P-funk, and organic neo-soul. Andre 3K and Big Boy, two of the best rappers of their generation, that's debatable, encompass the stylistic, maybe Andre 3K, but I'm sorry, but Big Boy, I don't know. Encompasses a stylistic patchwork with panache, particularly on the hits Miss Jackson and B.O.B. Great songs. They really do sound so fresh, so clean, even as as people address hot button topics like sex, abortion, and hypocrisy in American politics. So yeah, Humble Mumble is a good track. Ready to Die, the best album of all time. Not mad at it at all. It's Biggie, man. What can I say? I knew Biggie would probably be this. I kind of forgot about this album at first, but I was like, yeah. This album marked the precise moment when hip-hop's golden era transitioned into its modern age. That's debatable. The height of New York hip-hop and the sound of the greatest rapper of all time. You can debate that. At the absolute top of his powers, the album starts with the theater necessary for such a high-stakes debut. Before he became the Notorious B.I.G., Christopher Wallace had been hustling and selling drugs to make ends meet, experiences he poured into hard-hitting, semi-autobiographical songs after he signed with Uptown Records in 1992. When his A&R rep, Puffy, got fired, Sean's future looked uncertain. But that all changed once this album was released on Combs' Bad Boy Records in 1994. Biggie leavened his raw fatalism with a smooth, subtle sense of humor, and great skits in Biggie's music, perfecting a hard-soft dichotomy that would become a template for decades of artists, from the grandiose cinema of the Force Goods on Intro to the Triumph on Juicy, pretty much talking about like where you came from, and that's very revolutionary in rap to talk about where you came from, how you came up, to the bleak honesty of Suicidal Thoughts. The album remains a groundbreaking classic that stared death in the eye and became larger than life. Shout out to Biggie, but man, I gotta get out of here, man. I am getting tired. I gotta go watch some